11.1.5 drops this week, and there's been the whole, dinar shit. What the hell happened with these dinars? What's going to happen? If you don't know what they were a currency that you get, basically bad luck protection to help you buy your best in slot trinkets and everything else. Well, they were supposed to be added in. They were part of the utility of the new renown track, and all of a sudden they weren't there anymore. And now they weren't even being added in this patch. So people lost their fucking minds. Take away people's loot, that shit's going to happen. But Blizzard's retracting, going back, figuring out how they're going to do this properly. Let's see what Soul So Breezy has to say about how Blizzard screwed this up and how they're going to try to fix it. She said, bring back Moishi.
Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, your weekend dose of rationalization. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catching me when I'm live. Patch 11.1.5 drops next week, along with
this week,
some of
tomorrow,
its content.
Actually.
I'll get more into it on Monday, but on day one of the patch,
or today, depending on when you're watching
to
this,
swarm Halifal and participate in the Nightfall event, accompanied with other weekly quests, followed by 4 straight weeks of talking heads reminding us just how bad delayed content is. Jokes aside, there's other things to immediately enjoy. A Twitch drop is happening starting Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific for the Beatriz pet. Realms might be down, but I'll be right here at the start of drops as usual to help you run the clock or shoot the breeze or answer questions, and maybe I'll have a giveaway or two lined up. Follow me over at twitch.tv/soulsobreezy and I'll see you there. We're at the edge of the content frontier, sort of. If we look at the 2025 roadmap, we get a lot of the big bullet points, and many gamers, including myself, we've shared our understanding of when the things are happening.
Yeah.
But you might notice, beyond the 11.1.5 patch, the language becomes a lot less specific, like, oh my god, dude, check it out.
We're going to be at an 8-hour maintenance? Oh my god.
Story and quests, new content, new world events, new system updates. Oh my god,
right.
So exciting.
Shit.
I think we're nearly due for a roadmap update that comes with the next patch reveal to make at least a few items more clear, a little something to pique our curiosity.
For half
at least
a
week
patch,
until 11.1.7 is unveiled, we might as well start speculating what happens next, and then half joke whether it's going to happen like on the patch or a month later. The first thing that comes to mind for me, are we going to get Pandaren Heritage Armor? There's never been a bad time to reveal a new Heritage thing, and Pandaren are the last race.
It feels like it's been a while since we've got a Heritage Armor set. When was the last time we got one? I remember the human one coming out. When was the last time we got a Heritage? It's been a long time. Shit, yeah, Pandaren. I mean, I think it would be this, basically, right? But they kind of already have this transmogging game. I wonder what the Pandaren one would be.
For that. Okay, maybe technically Drakthir too, but hopefully they don't have to wait 13 years for theirs. Or how about more updates to the base UI?
We get Heritage Armor.
Cooldown Manager, like, okay, cool. That's a great start at appealing to that kind of player. But one thing I've been clamoring for, button faders, making bars invisible until I mouse over them. Now, I know there are other solutions for like buttons out there, but hiding them is just a very simple and easy thing to ask for, I think. In the meantime, over the next few months, we'll be deep into extra activities to help us level and gear up alts and gear up more at the hero class level and take on greater challenges and, of course, collect a ton of appearances. It's not going to be the same as the 10.1.5 patch from Dragonflight, which had like a whole ass mega dungeon and evoker specialization and more, but when we really break it down, the player power given out between these patches, it's pretty similar. The big difference is being horrific visions will be out later in the patch, and
that's what sucks.
Exist now, but unlike the dawn of the
horrific visions are going to give pretty good gear. I believe heroic raid gear is what we were saying earlier, but it's just not happening for 3 weeks.
Infinite Dungeon, horrific visions, they're designed to be soloable.
Last one was trolls and dry night.
Predictions are for 11.1.7 because I admit I don't have any great ideas. I think I'm damaged. Like I can't see anything but what's happening at the end of this year, and I feel bad because I am enjoying the War Within. It's just that, every day I'm hoping for just a few more drips from that player housing spigots. But anyway, the next patch is almost definitely going to feature some story bits leading us towards the final major patch of the War Within, where we might finally see the Horde and Alliance do something. Otherwise this is going to turn out to be some episode beach filler expansion, at least for them. But now the floor is yours. What do you think's happening next?
It does kind of feel like the all the stories are kind of just like everyone's sitting around right now, maybe fornicating for all I know on the on the Dornegal Isle because there's nothing going on. It feels like everyone's just kind of sitting around. We had the whole mage, quest line with what's it called? With Dalaran pieces picking up all that shit. But besides that, what else? We killed the Nerubians. We're gonna get more invasions from them in Nightfall. But in terms of story, seriously, it does feel like it's kind of on a pause right now.
It's my trinket and I want it now, or at least the gamers are saying the equivalent when it comes to the puzzling cartel chips Blizzard promised.
Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, this is what the main part of the video
chips, or what people call them Dinar still, because Shadowlands was clearly their favorite expansion. These chips reportedly can be traded in for the more valuable gear from the current raid. Now they're still on the way. More info is coming after 11.15 launches next week, but well, in the meantime, folks are venting their frustrations and jumping into their developer armchairs to give their very correct takes on what Blizzard should be doing. Now, of course, I'm under no illusion. I'm sitting right alongside you. But we should first give the timeline of how we got here. Going all the way back to mid.
Good. I'm glad he's giving the timeline because I don't remember exactly why they pulled him from the renown track in the first place.
January, so like 2 years ago, the WoW team published a post about the Galagio Loyalty Rewards Club. It's a renown track with a bunch of goodies. In this post, they tried to make it clear everything talked about here would be subject to change. We can look back and say, yes, it has changed a bit, but in this post, they mentioned the inclusion of these cartel chips. And we all know when it's said in a blue post, it's a set in stone promise. It's now this legally binding commitment. At least that's the energy some folks give out. Just a few weeks later, in a new PTR build, a number of changes did happen to the renown track, and the cartel chips were removed.
Okay, what was their reason for it? Here, in hopes that we're not burying the lead, the puzzling cartel chips previously presented for ranks 17 and 19, which, by the way, we're nowhere near. We're at rank 6 right now. On the track that allowed you to purchase raid items directly by having directly have been removed. However, it is noteworthy that this feature isn't intended to be gone from Undermine update entirely, just that they're moving to the 11.1 raid renown track, away from the renown track. More details, so hang tight. Okay, so they planned on bringing them back. I guess they just didn't want people to get gear too quickly. Or I remember my thing about rank 17 and 19 was that's too far away. Like 17 weeks into the patch cycle, we're finally going to be able to get when most people would probably already have it by that point. Would you even need the Dinars at that point?
The folks who pay attention to that sort of thing, some of them quickly fell into a big panic. Blizzard anticipated this with additional.
We're at 8 now,
reassuring folks they're not being removed entirely.
Still far. That's my point. I guess
they're just looking for a new place for them. Now, quick take here, but as it stood, the cartel chips, they weren't really in a good place on the renown track. Originally, they were going to be given out when we reached renown levels 17 and then 19. Now, that would have meant the week of June 17th for the first chip, and the week of July 1st for the second. And June 17th, by the way, is the estimated launch date for the 11.1.7 patch. So, yeah, I'm pretty glad they decoupled this from the renown track. Anyway, a few weeks after that post...
Yeah, that was the whole thing. It was on the renown track, and I didn't mind them taking it off either, because like he said, we'd be getting 11.1.7 by the time these things actually hit. So it would kind of be like, well, what's the point now? Most of that shit would be obsolete, or people would already have it.
Warcraft 30th anniversary
that the Dinars
in
would
London,
give you, at least.
Nagura interviewed Ian Hezacostas and Maria Hamilton, and they revealed we'd learn more about the cartel chips after the 11.15 update. Now, this was reported, but the reach, it only went so far. The reassurance, it eroded over time, and we cut to this week now, when the anxiety over the cartel chips reached a fever pitch. It was enough that Blizzard made a post to calm folks once again that more will be learned after the patch. But of course, for some, that isn't enough, and they want the facts right now. So why are some of these folks upset? After all, this is going to be the first time Blizzard's giving us a best-in-slot sort of vendor that isn't during Season 4 of an expansion. And keep in mind, there are people out there who are adamant there won't be a Season 4 of The War Within.
No, there definitely will not be a Season 4 of The War Within. What I will say, though, is like, I want best-in-slot just like everybody else, but sometimes is it a bit too easy? Like, when you get all your best-in-slot, what's left? I don't know. I do feel like there is something to be said for the grind of getting your best-in-slot gear and, the old way of doing things where you got to kill the same boss, a couple times to be able, and then that moment it drops, it's very exciting and everything else. Whereas Blizzard just giving gear away, sometimes it does take some of the flavor and excitement away from getting your biz gear. So I'm not the biggest, proponent of, we need the cartel chips now from day one, we should have already had them. I get the delay in getting them, but at the same time, getting best in slot gear to drop is still more exciting and still, to me, the way that it should be done.
Otherwise, but hey, nothing's off the table. The loudest outcry sums up to this, that it's too little, too late. Now, I was actually one of those voices in my early commentary. I suggested that getting maybe one cartel chip shortly after the last raid finder opens, that would be a cool idea. And the last raid finder, well, that would have been almost a month ago, by the way, the week of March 25th. So that way we would like have one piece of gear slot locked, and especially for players who don't push super high-end content, they'll have this really cool and powerful piece of gear that grows with them. I thought that'd be cool. Most folks suggest that waiting too long for these tokens
RNG, give me all my
missed opportunity. By the time they get these tokens, they're not going to need them anymore because maybe they'll have already earned these items elsewhere, or if they've already completed their season goals without them. So, oh gosh, what's the point?
Yeah.
Now, think back to their early dev post in February when the cartel chips would have been released in June. I mean, that information, obviously, it wasn't final, but at the time, it was a good enough idea to put it out there for the public to see and get some early feedback. And, well, that feedback was definitely given. It seemed clear to me, at least, their intent was for these chips to be basically a pity prize. Not really progression, not really catch up, just a consolation prize for showing up and, oh, you still didn't get that trinket? Oh, there, buddy. Here you go.
Basically.
So, obviously, that sort of messaging, I don't think it would have worked, and so they pulled it. Though we got to admit, there's no satisfying all players anyway, unless these chips were like in our mailboxes day one of the season or something like that. For now, though, that's where we're at. We're waiting for the specifics on how the chips will be given out. What's funny, or I guess unfortunate, is that this sort of in-development transparency tends to turn against Blizzard or whatever game developer. Because
that's the thing. I'm also like people's reactions to the Dinars being pulled and then not, no update given. Now the patch is coming where the Dinar. Like part of that is Blizzard is being super transparent, right? They're basically putting their ideas out there before they're even finalized to get a vibe from the player base, which I think is a good thing. You want them to keep doing that. You don't want to scare them away from doing that, and that's what I'm thinking this might do. Is like, oh, now there's going to be like this formal internal Blizzard approval process that goes way too high, and so we get a bunch of filtered out shit, so we never really find out what's going on anymore like we've been finding out with this stuff. Because the reason they originally pulled it in ours was from the feedback. 17 to 19 renown or whatever it was way too late in the season to give us those things if they want to give them to us. So they decided to pull them. They're going to give it to us earlier. Okay, but when's the earlier going to be? We don't know yet. At this point, if they only give heroic items, not sure many are going to can use them. That's the thing. A lot of people who actually are already... The people who will be able to use these dinars really are the people who don't raid a lot. Maybe you're like Greg from accounting. You're just always doing delves and shit. So you're going to do the bare minimum from raid to fill out your renown track to get the dinars. That's what would have happened with them. Now, the way they're going to give them, I'm not sure how it's going to work. But yeah, most people who are raiding consistently week in, week out are not going to need these things to get their best in slot trinkets. They'll probably already have them by the time these things drop.
Because it plants the seeds of expectations in people's heads. It shifts player behavior. Like, oh, we're getting a thing? Great.
Hold on, Cam Shady hits on something really important here. It's double RNG at the moment because RNG loot for it to drop, and then you got to win it. I am a proponent of going back to the Shadowlands days. Give me personal loot again. I don't know why they took away personal loot from Raid. I don't know who the hell was advocating for that shit to be taken out of the game, but I miss the personal Raid loot. I do. I don't want to roll on shit because it's like such an upper and a downer when your biz item drops and then you fucking lose the roll on it for the 36th time. That feels really shitty. I miss the personal. I don't know what happened. I get that guilds wanted the ability to kind of divvy out shit or whatever it is. I think that was the reasoning behind bringing back rolling on loot. But to me, especially somebody who pugs, it feels fucking shitty when I build out the pug and we get the piece of gear to drop, and then this rando who just joined for the one fight wins the roll and leaves. Yeah, it's not the best feeling in the world. LFR is the most toxic loot system. Is it? I don't know what the hell it's happened. I haven't done LFR in forever. I miss it because it's a double RNG. Yeah, it is a double RNG. You got to get to drop and you got to win the roll.
When? Oh, it's not day one of the patch. Okay, well, when then? Oh, we're not going to learn about when until later. Oh, okay.
You guys remember when my one of my biz items dropped and I rolled 100 and lost? Yeah, I remember.
On the other hand, if this was never revealed or data mined, if this was just like a surprise, yeah, we'd be back to talking about time gating and
Yeah,
delayed
it was
releases.
magical.
And
Yeah.
yet,
If
it's
you're wondering how that works, it's considered a tie, and then a reroll happens between the two people who tied, and then the one who rolls the higher roll and the second roll wins the item, and I lost. I lost.
what we're used to. Blizzard reveals a thing to launch later,
It's
and
not a good
gamers are
day.
excited about the thing, and they check out before the thing goes live. Here's something I wanted to point out. It comes from years of experience making all these broad overgeneralizations and sharing them with you. I'm not trying to be reductive or shove copium down your throats, but I've been noticing this thing with wanting the tokens to instantly get our favorite pieces of gear. This is an example of what WoW has been polished or sanded down to these days. Like now we have these multiple paths to obtain powerful gear and the freedom to do it all for maximum gains. We have this magical doohickey to turn those into tier set pieces, guaranteeing all players have access to tier
Yeah, yeah.
within a certain number of weeks. We can craft very powerful gear as a form of catch up or, again, progression.
He's right.
For lack of a better term, I don't think WoW players are spoiled, I guess. The game has.
They are. They are spoiled. And look, there was a time back in the day where having your set bonus, your full set bonus from tier set was like a privilege. It was not a guarantee for everybody, especially not early in the season. No chance. Like somebody who had full tier set, yes, they got, they had good RNG, to get to that point. But back, I still remember like running Karazhan 1,000 times over just to get full tier set. Like that was a thing. No, let alone Biz Trinket and all that shit. Like now, people feel like they're like it's an obligation, or they're entitled to getting full tier set, best in slot weapon, best in slot trinkets, best in slot rings. Like everybody now is fully geared out and Biz everything. Whereas previously, like somebody having, I don't like, I remember like inspecting people and be like, oh my god, this guy's got 4 best in slot items. Like that was a huge deal. That was like, oh shit, this guy's a god. And that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's like, oh, you only have 4 best in slot items? Ooh, fucking noob. So it's different. Yeah, or was it 9? You remember the full? Yes, it was. Bracers were included. Belt was included. Belt, like there were. I forgot if it was 8 or 9 too. Tier sets, but yes, tier sets used to include way more items too. So having a full tier set was like insane to have back in then. I think it was 8. It was crazy the amounts of gear for one set. Yes, and there was full tier set bonuses, all kinds of shit going on back then. And like I was saying, for anybody to have all that stuff was crazy. Now everybody gets it.
Has been changing
It's a
over the
difference.
years, catering to an audience that's growing older.
Sam, you're a boomer.
Growing
Yeah.
obligations conflict with the desire to play and the need for faster leveling and faster rewards that's gone up. And the patience of working towards them, the willingness to go to take that 2004 journey, that's gone down.
Yeah.
Today's WoW reflects the sentiment. Its gamers don't want to necessarily be locked in the way they used to, but still tries to provide something for those who want to sit down and play for hours and hours, from the different features in today's WoW to the different classic era realms. And these philosophies, they still need to exist on the same plane of accessibility. And if we take a closer look at classic, yeah, they go through the same thing. There are folks who love every bit of the old style gameplay. They love what's happening in Season Discovery 2. And even among them, there are those who don't even blink about buying gold on the gray market and paying for boost because they want to play, but they'd rather skip the grindy parts.
It's Greg from accounting days, guys. That's what it was. Because previously, what I mean by that is Greg from accounting was just Greg 20 years ago when he started playing WoW. Right? Greg from accounting was probably like 20 years old back then, just living his life. He wasn't yet married to his abusive wife. He was enjoying time and spending a lot of time in the game. And the thing is, just like Greg, a lot of the player base has aged over 20 years. Right? The majority of players have aged with the game. There hasn't been a ton of new introduction players. People come in, there's new players for sure, but the biggest piece of the player base is an aging player base. So they got their shit, they got their jobs, they got all kinds of stuff going on. They still like to play WoW, but they just don't have the time that they used to have to play WoW. So what do? Well, time is money. They have less time, but they have more money. So they spend money on fucking runs and all kinds of shit to get their best in slot items and all that. So Blizzard has realized that and find out more ways to give people their items because they have less time to play. It's a tough market for WoW developers. I feel like it was much easier. They used to be like, well, get good, bitch. Figure out how to get your stuff together. Now it's like, oh, we got to make them get good because they don't have the time they used to have to get good. That's a tough one. Is that story about you? No, it's not about me. I'm not. My wife is fine. She's not abusive, and I don't work in accounting. But I know a lot about Greg. He's a good guy.
But anyway, back to modern WoW and the War Within, a reflection of this mentality is also seen in how players seek out groups for higher level endgame. The pug world is and is not patient. In some cases, people have to endure numerous rejections to groups, but they prefer that over the time it takes to make friends and build relationships and maintain them. I don't mean that as a diss either. Players' experience over the years just led to these sorts of preferences. I feel Blizzard has not done enough to connect players together for higher level content, notably keys, and they are working on that. Heck, making keys more accessible, as in easier, that's helped with it too.
Yeah.
But I think we've all seen how the tools our community has made to make grouping easier.
Yeah, we saw it in Season 1. Players will check out these days. Players will just check out. If the season's too hard, they're just not going to do it. Blizzard putting in overly challenging content is just not something people want to play through anymore. The majority of people, at least.
Or less a double-edged sword. I admit that I'm out of touch on this subject because I only do group content with guildmates, all of whom I consider friends or family. Just don't tell them I said that. I want to hear from those of you who live in the pug world, though, who want it to work for you, but it just isn't right now. Like, what do you need? What do you think should change? And that's the show. So as you can see, sort of behind me, I don't know if I'm going to regret having that light on, but not a lot of progress. I haven't really done a lot this week. I was a bit under the weather, but I'm okay now. And the plan is, before Tuesday's stream, I'll be mostly done with the redecorating. The desk and monitors, they'll be all set up, and probably not in a separate video, maybe during the weekly. I'll go over all the work and all the stuff that went into the office so far.
Setup.
And it's thanks to you that this is happening, because you are watching me here or on the streams, or you're commenting, or even making a personal contribution, and I'm extremely, extremely grateful. You played a part, and you made it to the end. You fed the algorithm.
We did it, boys.
So
we did it.
All that's left to do now is like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll see you Monday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.
There you go. Nice. Since when does Sam give a shit about anyone? Never. Never gave a shit about anybody. Come on, giving shits is just too much energy, guys. Too much energy. Keep the shit to yourself. Nice video from Soul, and interesting stuff about the Dinars. I'm sure Blizzard will figure it out eventually, once we don't need it anymore. There we go.